about Hammer, but run up on it.
Hammer,
I bet you your mom
ass.
Look, that MC Hammer, very serious about beef. Y'all just laugh and y'all joke about Hammer. No. That was deep with, and he used to what anybody who talks come to the Bay Area, they was in for it.
Hammer took it the wrong way, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I didn't know that was an on the table for discussion.
Oh, y'all, Kanye West is out here spilling the tea again. And this time, he's dragging Jay-Z into some wild claims about MC Hammer. Yeah, you heard that right. MC Hammer. Kanye is saying Jay-Z didn't just target Hammer back in the day, but actually took a major L in the process. Like, what even happened between these two hip-hop legends? Is Kanye exposing some untold history, or is this just another one of his Kanye moments? Either way, let's break this all the way down. MC Hammer persona. So we all know MC Hammer as the dude with the flashy style, parachute pants, and those feel-good dance tracks, right? But what a lot of people didn't realize back then was that Hammer wasn't just some friendly, happy-go-lucky performer. This man had serious street cred, and he wasn't one to be messed with. Low-key, he's got a rep that even heavyweights like Suge Knight acknowledged. Hammer's not the guy to play around with, even if he didn't fit the typical gangsta rapper mold. Hammer came straight out of the hood and was as real as it gets. Word on the street is, there were times he put hits out on folks and had some serious pull in LA. So yeah, Hammer was not to be tested. But apparently, Jay-Z missed that memo. And you know Hammer wasn't about to let that slide. The issue. Now here's where things get even juicier. Kanye West, never one to hold his tongue, dropped a bombshell that flipped the script on this whole Hammer versus Jay-Z situation. During a rare, candid moment in an interview, Kanye hinted that Jay-Z's jab at Hammer wasn't just about flexing his financial muscles or lyrical supremacy. It was calculated. Kanye claimed that Jay-Z targeted Hammer deliberately, knowing that Hammer had a fierce reputation and deep connections in the industry. But according to Kanye, the plot backfired. Kanye went on to reveal that Hammer's response, complete with the diss track and that wild music video, did more than just clap back. It left Jay-Z looking a little shook, at least momentarily. Kanye even implied that Jay, usually untouchable, might have underestimated Hammer's ability to flip the narrative and make it a cultural moment. And here's where Kanye really spilled the tea. He claimed that Hammer's diss had the potential to disrupt Jay-Z's untouchable image. While Jay had been calculated in his approach, Hammer's fearless retaliation and Better Run video made people rethink who really held the power in that feud. Why Kanye said Jay lost. Kanye was reportedly impressed by how Hammer leaned into his authenticity and turned the tables on one of hip-hop's biggest moguls. According to Kanye, it was a moment where the culture sided with Hammer, seeing him as someone who wouldn't let old wounds and unnecessary shade slide. Kanye even admitted that Hammer, with his street cred and over-the-top creativity, proved he wasn't just a pop rapper from the 90s. In Kanye's eyes, Hammer came out on top in this battle, proving that raw authenticity could still shake up the polished, PR-driven world of modern hip-hop. And honestly, Hammer's fearlessness in taking on Jay-Z might have even inspired Kanye himself to never shy away from confronting powerful names in the industry. So, let's break this all the way down. Back in 2010, Jay-Z hopped on Kanye's track So Appalled and threw some not-so-subtle shade at MC Hammer. In his verse, Jay spit, "Hammer went broke, so you know I'm more focused. I lost 30 mil, so I spent another 30. Cause unlike Hammer, 30 million can't hurt me." Jay really came for Hammer's neck with that one. Bringing up someone's past financial struggles is messy enough, but targeting Hammer, who's known for his resilience, was a risky move. Now, Hammer was not here for the disrespect. Instead of letting it slide, he clapped back on Twitter, and y'all, it was spicy. Hammer accused Jay of selling his soul, feeding into the long-standing rumors about Jay-Z and the whole Illuminati thing. And if that wasn't enough, Hammer hit the studio to take the beef to another level. He released a full diss track and music video called Better Run. And when I tell you this was next level petty, I mean it. The video was a wild ride, featuring a Jay-Z lookalike being hunted through a forest by a devilish figure. The imagery was heavy with symbolism, painting Jay-Z as someone who made a deal with the devil. But Hammer wasn't done yet. The video ends with him baptizing the Jay-Z character in a lake, completely flipping the narrative and reclaiming his respect. It was over the top, theatrical, and absolutely unforgettable. Hammer made sure everyone knew that even after all these years, he wasn't someone to be played with. Kanye West adds fuel to the fire. Now here's where it gets even messier. Kanye West, who's always in the middle of some drama, later revealed that Jay-Z's diss wasn't just a random lyrical flex. According to Kanye, Jay intentionally targeted Hammer, knowing his history and reputation. Kanye suggested that Jay underestimated Hammer's ability to retaliate and that the move backfired big time. Kanye went on to say that Hammer's response, particularly the Better Run Run video, didn't just check Jay-Z, it shook him. Kanye hinted that Jay-Z might have thought twice about coming for someone with Hammer's deep ties and unshakable authenticity. Why Hammer won the battle. What's wild about this whole situation is how Hammer, who wasn't exactly seen as a tough guy in his prime, turned the tables on one of hip-hop's biggest names. While Jay-Z tried to downplay the drama in interviews, saying Hammer misunderstood the lyric, it was clear the damage was done. Hammer had flipped the narrative, showing that he wasn't just a pop star from the 90s, but someone with enough grit and creativity to stand his ground. Kanye even called it a win for Hammer, saying it was proof that authenticity could still shake up the calculated, PR-driven world of modern hip-hop. And honestly, Hammer's fearless clapback might have inspired others, maybe even Kanye himself, to confront the so-called untouchable names in the industry. Jay-Z later tried to smooth things over by showing some respect for Hammer, even referencing parts of his book Decoded to back himself up. But let's be real, the tension was thick. You could tell from Jay's tone that, for a split second, he probably realized Hammer wasn't someone you could just take shots at and walk away from. Hammer's reaction had him rethinking things real quick.
Hammer took it the wrong way, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I didn't know that was I didn't know that wasn't on the table for discussion. I didn't know that was the first time. I didn't know I was the first person to ever say that. Am I? I mean, I'm not. Am I? I know I've heard that before. I didn't think I was the first one to say it. I guess, you know, when I say things, like, I think people believe me so much that they take it a different way. It's not like, it's not rap anymore at that point. Now it's like in a personal attack. I didn't mean it. I said some great things about him in the book that I have coming out. That wasn't like a cheap plug, but I really
Decoded.
I really said some really nice. He's gonna be like embarrassed.
Wow.
You know, he's gonna be embarrassed. I said some really great things about him in the book and about people's perception of him and how he's from East Oakland, and you know, I said really great things about him. I said but you know, whatever it is what it is. He took it the wrong way. I didn't know it wasn't on the table for discussion. I just was. And I didn't know I said anything wrong. If I don't know if I said a lie.
You brought him back though. He's doing videos. He's on that right now. So he's doing good.
Yeah. So I guess
The real G's. Here's the wild part though. Hammer wasn't exactly known as the tough guy of hip-hop during his prime, but behind the scenes, Hammer was no pushover. Just listen to what Joey Crack had to say about him after meeting him once at an airport.
You know, one time I bumped into him. I only kicked it with him like one time. I bumped into him in the airport in Vegas, and I seen him. He was like, "Yo, Joe, what's up, man?" He said, "Yo, sit down, let's talk. I'm waiting for the plane." And he was like, "Yo, you know I'm not, you know, Hammer. You know I get it popping for real." I was like, "Yo, Hammer, why are you telling?" He said, "Nah, because I do the dance and all that. They don't think that." He said, "Yo, Joe, I let it go. Like, you know, it's Hammer time." I couldn't believe MC Hammer was talking like that.
And when he tried to switch things up in '94 with his album The Funky Headhunter, leaning into a harder, more aggressive style, people didn't know how to feel about it. Fans were confused, critics were side-eyeing. It was a whole thing. But looking back now, it's clear Hammer always had that edge. People just weren't ready for it. Folks thought Hammer was doing the most trying to switch up his image. But if you really knew Hammer, you'd know he was not to be underestimated. Fans loved him not just for his crazy talent, but because he was real and resilient. Hammer's touch. And it wasn't just fans who saw that. Other rappers like Redman have shared stories showing Hammer had a street side that didn't get much shine, but it was very real. Behind the big smile and those show-stopping moves was a guy who demanded respect. And Jay-Z? Yeah, he learned that the hard way. By 1992, Hammer wasn't just a star, he was the star of hip-hop. His 1990 album Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him sold a mind-blowing 22 million copies, and his follow-up, Too Legit to Quit, added another 5 million. Hammer was on top, no question, Redman. But with all that mainstream success came the haters. Hardcore hip-hop heads started calling him a sellout, saying he was chasing pop stardom. Even Redman threw some shade with the Funky Uncle skit on his debut album, straight up dragging Hammer, saying he and his whole family weren't shh. The disrespect was loud, but Hammer, he wasn't about to let it slide. Years later, Redman admitted just how serious Hammer was about his name. He told this wild story about how Hammer confronted him on the final episode of Yo MTV Raps in '94. Hammer pulled up, calm but firm, and said, "Red, I'm gonna tell you something. You're young, but I don't let nobody talk about my mama. You understand me?" Redman didn't play tough. He was like, "Yes, sir," because he knew Hammer wasn't messing around. And that wasn't the first time Hammer made it clear he wasn't to be played with. Redman shared another story about being in the Bay Area with EPMD and feeling the heat firsthand. Basically, if you came for Hammer's name, especially in his backyard, you were in for it. Behind all the glitz and dancing pants, Hammer was about his respect, and he wasn't afraid to show it. So Redman was with EPMD in Oakland, right? And they almost had to dip out of there because the vibe was getting real tense. Red said there were dudes pointing from all directions, and it felt like they were about to get boxed in. Hammer's Bay Area wasn't just his home, it was his fortress. You disrespect him there, and you're toast. But here's the thing. Despite how intense that whole MTV encounter was, Hammer still gave Redman his props. He shook his hand and said, "You're young, and I like what you're doing. Just know, I don't let nobody talk about my mama." Hammer was serious, but he wasn't wilding. He kept it respectful. Redman, though, he stayed humble. He was like, "Yo, Hammer man, you're a legend. I'm just a young cat. I ain't got no beef with you." Smart move, right? Because Hammer wasn't just a dancer or entertainer. He was about his business. Red straight up admitted that people think Hammer's soft, but nah, Hammer don't play. He'll dance circles around you and then handle business if he needs to. Too short. Now, Hammer's dominance in the early 90s wasn't without its challenges. Oakland's hip-hop scene was popping back then. You had Digital Underground, Too Short, and Hammer all going platinum between 1990 and 1991. But even though they all repped the same city, there was some tension, especially between Hammer and Too Short. It wasn't all love in the Bay, and the competition was fierce. Too Short admitted that back in the late 80s and early 90s, he was taking shots at Hammer in some of his tracks. Why? Because Hammer was getting all this media love, and Short wasn't feeling it.
You know, Hammer was a big dog, man. He got respect in the streets. He came from a respected crew, and they handled business, him and his brother Lewis and the crew. And, you know, when we saw each other, it was respect and love. And then, you know, when we weren't around each other, he'd take little jabs and talk shit, but it was that type shit.
He even talked about it on Questlove Supreme, where he broke down the Oakland hip-hop scene and how they moved in the same circles. Hammer had ties to the Oakland A's and was cool with the neighborhood hustlers, just like Short. But even with all that, Too Short didn't really know Hammer like that back then. He didn't even know his real name. Now, Short respected Hammer's talent and how the streets loved him, but let's be real, the competition was intense. Short painted a picture of Hammer and this dude Ace tearing it up at the clubs with these crazy synchronized dance moves. Everyone knew them as dancers, not rappers. Short said he didn't even realize Hammer was spitting bars until he dropped "Let's Get It Started." But here's where the drama kicked off. Short ran into Hammer one day, and Hammer was rolling deep, like 4 bodyguards and an entourage of 20 people deep. Someone nearby asked, "Who's that guy?" And Short, feeling himself a little, was like, "I don't know, and I don't care." To Short, Hammer was just that dude who danced. He didn't see him as a rapper yet, but when someone clued him in, Short was like, "Oh wait, this guy's actually blowing up."
One day, here comes Hammer with about 15 people, like an entourage. And I remember somebody said, "Who is that?" And somebody else said, "I don't know." And then he did it again. We saw him again, like, that's that same nigga. But like, he got bodyguards. Nigga had 15 people following, they going in VIP, like, who is that? Nigga like, I don't know. Third time, same crew, here they come, pushing their way through, bodyguards. Nigga like, who is that? I said, nigga, that's Hammer. After that, the nigga was instantly famous. I don't know how he did that. I don't know what was in his mind, but that nigga made himself the way he did. Like, he came, before he got famous at Entourage, he had 4 bodyguards. He made that shit. And I always respected that about Hammer, that he, you know, we used to pick on each other back in the day, but I always respected it.
And Hammer did blow up, but his whole vibe, bodyguards, flashy entourage, larger-than-life energy, rubbed Short the wrong way. Short prided himself on keeping it real and focused on the music. He even threw shade, saying Hammer seemed more famous for acting famous than for his music at first. Short made it clear that wasn't his style, even rapping about it on Short But Funky. He had lines like, "You'll never catch me on the mic rapping a dance tune. The style is mine. I've been doing it for 10. Basically, Short was saying, I'm authentic, and I'm not about that flashy stuff. And listen, Short wasn't the only one throwing shots. He said he had plenty of tracks with Hammer disses, and he wasn't alone. LL Cool J, Third Base, and others started getting bolder with their shots too. But here's the thing, they were all from the same area, and they had mutual homies. Even with the back and forth, there was no real beef because they all knew each other and kept it chill. But Hammer, he wasn't afraid to clap back, like that time he went on the Arsenio Hall show and threw some subtle shade. Bottom line, the tension between Too Short and Hammer was all part of that era's competitive energy. But you know Hammer wasn't about to let the disrespect slide without making a statement of his own. What do you think about Hammer? You think Jay-Z learned his lesson back then? Let us know about it down below.